Thanks for taking the time to explore our platform here on Estraad. Today I will basically, let's see here. So I have this presentation in the back here. I'll just kind of stand on the side. I'm Edward. I have many names, but I'm Hoppy in Discord, and I'm a Camel God on GitHub. So you've probably seen me somewhere in the chats or on GitHub issues at some point. I've been working with Hubs and Hubs Cloud for 1.5 years now, just doing development, not really on the Hubs code base, but on forks and projects like Estraad. So I've been kind of quiet the past 1.5 years, but we finally got a website up, and we've been kind of doing more marketing. And after seeing the Imedu meetup a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of inspired to just go for it and showcase and let you have a look. So that's why we are here now. I have kind of 2 goals for today. It's just to just inspire and show what is possible with Hubs, because it doesn't have to be constrained by the design and the implementations that are already in place. You can actually do a lot with Hubs, and you can really customize almost anything with it. So that's kind of what I want to showcase today. And then, yeah. So Estraad is a project that came out of the COVID-19 shutdowns in Norway. We're based in Norway, and it all started with a House of Culture in Oslo that couldn't do their events anymore. So they reached out to us and asked if there was anything we could do to help connect people and gather people together. So we looked into like concerts and conferences and how we can bring people together again. And we started looking into 2D implementations, 3D implementations, and we found networked A-frame, and we started to do a custom kind of, let's see, I had some feedback here. It's fixed now. So we looked into networked A-frame, and we started to do a Vue.js prototype. And then we found Mozilla Hubs and Hubs Cloud, and we a lot of the things we wanted to do was already in place. So we decided to go for that. And since then, it was 1.5 years ago now. And we started to basically do live streaming and concerts in Hubs. We started to modify the interface and build existing tools on top. So not really going too in-depth into the backend and everything like that, but basically just making it a bit more our own. And doing a lot of, this was also based on the old interface. So not the new improved one, but the old one with the more like floaty things in the menus. So we tried to make it better, and we tried to fit it better with the goals of our clients, which was basically to make it more calm and user-friendly for people who maybe never experienced a 3D environment at all, and maybe who don't really work with technology the way that developers and the more power users of Hubs do. So we really just we boiled it down to like creating a very minimal and simple and calm user journey and design language. So I have a screenshot actually from, this is like the first, one of the first events that we ever did. And it was just a HLS live stream that was into a very basic like room, and but it worked. We got people together and they could watch the content, and it was pretty exciting. We had a very simple avatar created here with the little smiley bald guy, and we had to basically remove a lot of the hub's ways of doing things, which is like a very creative and like you can do a lot of things yourself. You can create your own avatar, you can create your own GLTFs, but our clients and the end users don't know how to do it because they're just general people wanting to see a concert or attend a conference. So we try to limit the decisions and choices, and we created avatar creators that could, you know, more like have our own models that they could choose from instead of like a massive gallery. We just kind of boiled it down and made it more simple. And the room flow was also changed. So if you noticed when you went into this room, you set up your avatar first, and you don't really get any context of the room. And this is on purpose to kind of make it more calm as you go into the room. Because a lot of people get overwhelmed when they go into the room and they see a lot of graphics and a lot of, like, you get the scene, a panorama shot with people running around. You may have audio, and then you try to figure out your avatar and everything. And we try to just kind of make it more simple and make the process easier to navigate for the user, and as well as not repeating steps unnecessarily. So when you create your avatar now, you will have this until you change it in the menu. Like there's a button on the bottom right of the interface. So we did a lot of small steps like this, a lot of tiny details that kind of, when you combine everything, it turns out to be a little more simple and streamlined than the Hub's client originally is. And we also wanted more customization early on. We did basically convert everything to functional components in React. And we used Bootstrap and React Bootstrap because the code base is very big and complicated, especially if you've never experienced the A-frame or Three.js. So for me, especially, I was not really familiar with React at the time. I came from Vue and Angular, and just understanding Three.js and A-frame and React and how they all go together, in addition to the SCSS that is used, I thought it was better to just kind of go from scratch and also focus a little bit more on the developer experience for myself and people involved in the team now or in the future. And so we basically built it down a lot. We removed a lot of features, and we just kind of kept it simple at all times. And actually this interface is from, I think it hasn't changed much for the past 12 months or so. So it's been in use for a good while now, and yeah, so it's something different than Hubs. We kind of ended up with the new interface that Hubs introduced. It's kind of the same concepts with having a more central toolbar and everything, but at the time we had the old interface, and we actually didn't know that Hubs were creating a new one. So it was kind of double work, but I think we have much more control now over how things work and why they work. So we had one of our biggest events was Oslo World, where we kind of tried to combine a lot of different events we did in the past. We had previously we did an event with a payment service that was written in Django and Stripe, and it created accounts and had like rooms locked to. So you can configure hubs in a way that rooms cannot be entered without an account, but you can also disable creating accounts. So essentially, you have a very locked system. Then you can use an admin token to create accounts again from a different service. And so we did this with Stripe in the early beginning, and then we kind of Oslo World was like a very big conference with, in terms of people and where like countries and languages and everything. So we implemented, as you can see in my name, it's a Norwegian character, and we added support for multiple different like characters, and we added the media frame system to do workshops, and we did the early versions of the character creator, which is basically just overlapping models on top of each other with some more custom logic in the background. And we had a global searchable user list, which I can toggle for you right now. And we can kind of see how that looks. If you see in the top right corner now, there's like a connected rooms thing that we use a lot for events that cannot fit more than the recommended capacity, depending on end user devices and network speeds. So we might limit a room to, let's say, 15 people, and then we can chain rooms together here using a bot, Discord bot that is rewritten to do an API instead. And we can pull data from this API, and we can search for users, and we can see all the rooms and stuff. So this makes it a bit more practical to do bigger events. We also have a landing page system that uses the bot API to make landing pages really easily for clients, and you get the list of all the rooms there and who's in what room. So it's also something we did for Oslo World, and it worked well. It worked actually really well. We used the Cloudflare workers to get a better CDN setup, because we had a lot of different people from all over the world, and that worked well. Big shout out to Reticulum and the AWS templates and setups, because I haven't delved into that yet, but it seems to work really well if you just have beefy enough servers. We had at most, I think, around 200 concurrent users. So it's not the biggest event, but it was with the workshops and everything simultaneously in like 9 different workshops with about 15 people each. Doing post-it notes is one thing we did. You can see on the bottom of the screen, there's a sticky note kind of icon where you can create a sticky notes. It's basically just the text to image thing, but with a UI. So you can kind of create those. And we use these a lot for like annotations and doing workshops with we create scenes that are basically set up in a way where you can place these in structured ways. And then we have like billboards and stuff where you can kind of bring images or text real easily with this kind of feature. So these are some of the things we did for Oslo World. and it was really fun. And then I can go into a lot of different topics and stuff for Estraad and how we basically ended up with this, because this is a kind of it's a lot of work. It's 1.5 years of full-time development. So it's and it's basically rewritten the entire front end. I think the only thing missing is like the hub.js, although that's very customized as well. And we did like refactoring React a very long time ago. The UI root, if you're familiar with this, we rewrote this to a functional component a year ago. So we have already been kind of through a lot of difficult code changes, but it's made it way easier for us to do things quickly, which is key for the way that we work with clients as well, because we have, for example, microservice architecture that allows us to build things quickly and deploy them quickly. So we had a Q&A system that we developed that allowed people from multiple rooms to send questions to one place, and the moderator could take these questions and forward them to a panel, for example. We had a reaction system that you can see on the heart icon, and this was actually linked to a live projector in a dance event. So you could send like reactions to what you saw on the live stream, and you could applaud or send your love to the dancers. So we've done both like meeting rooms and everything like this, all the way to like hybrid events using Mozilla Hubs and Hubs Cloud and our custom microservices and additions. We have, I think, I guess I can just go through a couple of the small things we did to improve. There's so much to pick from, so I'll just go through a couple of things that I think is really neat and that I would love to see in Mozilla Hubs as well. And that is the name tags. They change. So when you speak, you can see that my name is green, and it's just small things like this that make it much more enjoyable, in my opinion. And then we have the streamlined avatars, because choice is not always good. If you're overwhelmed, it can be too much. And then we have we removed the copy paste thing, where you can paste things into the room, because people would accidentally click Control C and then Control V into the room and paste like whatever they like, upload some old clipboard thing or something like that. Then we also went through all the dependencies of Mozilla Hubs in the node or the npm package JSON, and we tried to upgrade as much as possible, because a lot of that is kind of weird and some of it is very outdated. We also do this now. We have like a process for getting to Webpack 5, I think. So we're looking into this, but it's kind of, I guess, yeah, this is there's some challenges I guess I can get into, and that is the managing everything, especially when you pull upstream changes from Mozilla as well. We usually do like a weekly merge request that takes all the new changes and puts it into the Estraad codebase. I see there's a question from Will Murphy. Any change to contributing the package updates back to Mozilla? Yes, there is, but we have it's like a question about stability because we have so many different changes done, and not all of them are covered by the Mozilla public license, and some of them are. And I want to make sure that the versions and everything, like we run a very experimental kind of feature set, and we do a lot of things. We have our own staging server that we test things out. So definitely when we feel comfortable and when things are stable, then we will publish the changes, and we can let the Mozilla team know in the Discord or something. But for now, we've kind of focused only on kind of pushing the limits a bit, and then we take a breather and see what can we bring back that is actually that actually gives value, rather than just pushing like a bunch of changes and maybe it's not tested well or something. So I try to be a little bit careful with it. Maybe I'm a little too careful, but it's definitely also something that we want to do in the future as well. But it's but for the pain points we faced along the way, because it's been 1.5 years, we've done probably a lot of events and conferences and stuff. I don't have the full count, but authentication and accounts is one of the major things that we've struggled with, because it's we do have the accounts in the reticulum, but it's difficult to combine it with other things. So we try to establish like a OAuth 2 wrapper around Mozilla's kind of code. We've tried to, we did use the lockdown cloud system that I talked about earlier with the denying account creation and then having an admin create them. But I would really love to see something with the possibility of OAuth or something else that we can kind of hook other services into. It's one of the most kind of painful things, I think, right now for us as well. And I think for education and other aspects as well probably feel this. And it's the same thing with like role management. We only have like admin or not. As you can see above my head, it probably says Estraad or something. It's also something we added. And as extending the backend is not something I've delved into. I kind of want to get into reticulum, but it's always like I set it up and then it's so massive and complicated, and I've never done Elixir or what's it called? Something on P. Phoenix. I've never done anything like that, so it's kind of daunting, and I can never make it run properly. But that's kind of where Estraad is at right now. Is like we really want to expand further into the backend stuff, but it's kind of difficult. Thankfully, we have the Hubs Blender add-on, which we are now experimenting with, like custom components, trying to add stuff. Like we forked the Blender exporter and we added some custom things. So I think that can be like in the future, maybe like a good ecosystem for developers, not to publish to Spoke, but maybe just extending the Blender add-on. I think that's a really nice thing, because you can basically access them in Hubs Cloud. So that's a really big potential there, I think. Something I'm really excited about. And then it's like the APIs and stuff, but thankfully we have what's it called, like GraphQL coming up at some point. At least it's like an alpha thing that we did a while ago now, but that will also help, I think, a lot with the overall, like using a Discord bot that is basically hacked together to make a API is not very optimal. So that would improve the developer experience quite a lot, I think. Yeah, that's basically kind of the journey here and the problems we had. And then today we have focused a lot on accessibility. So our entire interface is keyboard supported. And we use like ARIA labels and everything like that. In VR, you will have a keyboard that you can actually write, like you can click on the keyboard to chat, and you don't have to go in and out of the VR context all the time. And we try to like add more buttons, but VR has not been a priority for us. So we focused mostly on the desktop and a little bit on the mobile, but not too much. And we also have a third-person thing where you can scroll out, and then you can kind of get a broader view around you. So if you try that, just scroll out or in, and you can kind of get the third-person mode. And then we have we made a tutorial room as well, because we saw that there was a big, like I said earlier, it's very overwhelming for people to go into a room and there's like all these colors and the scene is crazy. And there's people running around and there's audio. So to give people an isolated space where they can take their time and learn in advance of a meeting, for example, if you have a meeting, you let them in the day before, and they can really, just take it easy and in their own pace. So we have this demo room on our website. It's just estrad.com, and you can click, it's like one of the first buttons. You can click try the demo room, where we go through everything from like the audio roll-off and how that works, all the way to like how you scale objects and everything like that. So that's also worth checking out. We had we have also like ARIA labels for everything with the avatars. Like having a defined set of avatars is really, really handy, because you can not only can you like make avatar creators that have multiple components like hair and stuff, but you can also add the translation strings and give them descriptions. And this helps with the accessibility, because you can actually have like you have in the admin panel, you only have one field for the description. But the way we did it here is that this field defines the React International string. So it just pulls the localized version of the description. So we have like all these descriptions for all the avatars. We also did, we tried to use symbols and colors with the icons on the bottom, for example. It's not really much, but yeah, and as I said in the very start, we try to keep the user flows as simple as possible and avoid like repeating the avatar setup and everything like that. Also, there's a lot of more, like feedback. If you unplug your microphone, you will get like a toast that says that your device was unplugged. If you plug it back in, you get another thing. If you save your avatar, you get the confirmation. So everything like this, if you try to change your avatar, it will say that it was changed. So we did a lot of this like feedback to make it more like solid feeling. And I think that worked overall. And then for the microservices, I talked a little bit about that. We had the reaction system with the live synchronization using WebSockets. We have the landing pages, Q&A system. We have experience with the payment system and also a very early prototype of OAuth login system with user profiles and persistent data. It's really exciting, but I have no way to deploy the reticulum with the experimental OAuth thing, so I can't use it yet. But I really hope that someday it will be there. It would allow us to have like persistent, basically create resource servers that you can fetch with your OAuth tokens, and you can get access to like inventory. You can make games. You can make objectives. You can have like basically anything you want. So that's another prototype we have. It's a microservice. And then some of the components we made a protected mode. It's basically a pin, but it's stronger. It disables the menus. So you can have, let's say you create a room and you don't want to go back in Spoke to add like something, or for example, in Spoke, you cannot add PDFs, but you can add PDFs as a user, as an avatar in the room. So I can add a PDF and I can protect it, and it just simply removes all the interfaces. So it's basically like part of the room, but not really, because it's placed after the room was, or the scene was created. But that's one thing we did to make it just easier to make like persistent things, and not having people accidentally unpin it or move it or something. If you hold like space bar and you move something as pinned. So like that's a really neat thing. And then we also have custom menus for most stuff. If you have, I don't have any objects right now, but if you have a sticky note, for example, and if you hold space, you'll see like there's big icons and text. We also have, one thing we did is actually we can enforce people to sign in a room when they enter. So there's a little menu that pops up. And this is done to, if you have pinning in the room, we don't want to trigger the pinning process that Mozilla Hubs natively have, where you are asked to sign in. Because the more stuff you can do before you go into the room, the better. So we try to sign in people. We try to they make the profile, they make the avatar, they sign in, they do everything like that before the room. So we did this with sign-ins as well. So when you pin something, if the room is supposed to have something pinned, you sign in before and you don't have to deal with it. We also did, so you can see who created an object. So if you hold space, you should be able to see like on this red thing. It's probably gonna, there. So on this red node, for example, if you hold space, you can probably see my avatar name. And as an admin, I can print the account ID of the person that created it, which is really handy if you have messy events with like school kids running around, making lots of, like just uploading anything on their computer, and you can easily find out who created what. And I can, as an admin, also see their actual account ID, and I can go in and disable their access, for example. So that's another thing that we did. And then future focus areas. Again, there's an advantage for having predefined avatars, and that is that you can have, you can look into concepts like level of detail, instancing. We want to push performance as much as possible. We, our 3D artist works really, she does a really good job on the performance part, but we still want to push it as much as possible. So level of detail and instancing is something that we are looking into. And also the variant extension of GLTF is another thing, where you can basically bundle multiple like combinations of textures to one single model. Those are areas that we're focusing on. we are looking into extending custom components in Blender with a Blender exporter plugin. Basically avoiding spoke at all costs because it's a very slow way to do it, and there's no, even if there were a way to deploy custom spoke versions, I think it would still be easier to do it in Blender. So we've kind of moved away from the spoke centric design pipeline, and our 3D artist works mostly in Blender now, and use the hubs a Blender exporter for basically anything. And then we want to look into entity component systems that are not reliant on A-frame. This is a bit further down the road, but I think it would be interesting. I think XR Engine is doing something like this, basically to just step away from A-frame and try to long-term go with just a pure 3JS implementation at some point. And then one thing we have done as well is another microservice, you could call it, is an asset server. So we try to, it's just in a prototype stage now, but we are looking into basically taking away responsibility from reticulum to create. So we start with the assets because it's a very easy concept to replace. So we do have like a library, you can browse some 3D models. It's not in the client now, but if someone needs it, we can just make it available. But long term, I would like to try and do the avatars from there, maybe something like that. And then always UI and UX improvements, all the time. And then implementing TypeScript and building down dependencies, avoiding sub-modules and all kinds of stuff, because it's just too much to keep track of. I think that's basically it. I think the most exciting thing will be to hear your thoughts and opinions, and just basically, I see there's a hand, multiple hands. I think John S. is first.
Yeah, can you go into a little bit more detail about, you said something like you want to reduce the responsibility of reticulum. Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yeah, so the reason why I say that, I want to reduce the responsibility of reticulum is because I'm not able to change it. I don't have control of reticulum. And so if you look at what reticulum does, it does multiple things. It does it connects the people together, and like it has a game server type thing, and it has it does the like the voice WebRTC thing, and it does assets, and it does like authentication. It does a lot of things, and so I just try to like categorize it and then move it out. So it's just in this state where I am thinking, okay, if I can take more and more out of reticulum, it's just a strategy for us to customize and to get more flexibility.
That's great. So did you start with assets? Did you say like avatar assets and things like that?
Yeah. So because right now you can actually upload things into reticulum by using Spoke. So you can drag and drop like an image into the bottom of Spoke, has like this asset browser, and you can then link them back into a room or something. But we wanted to have a bit more, like we want to make a REST API where you can actually browse properly. You can have like packs of assets. You can basically just taking the reticulum, what reticulum does, and making it again, but under our control, so we can maybe extend it in the future or do something.
That's cool.
Yeah, or for example, extending. Right now we use tags for the avatars. We rely on tags to have hair and accessories and the base avatar itself. But extending this and being able to categorize it, because right now it's a very complex way of doing the avatar creator, because we have to upload basically hundreds of combinations every time if the server if the server is wiped, we need to do it again and again. And so it takes a long time to upload every single combination of every single thing. It's not as bad because we have basically taken the hair out. So right now it's just the skin color basically, and the t-shirts. But still, yeah. So that's kind of just making it easier to do cool stuff with the avatars and the assets. I'll just address this question in the chat because the chat will expire. I think Wolfgang was first, but I'll just do this quickly. The OAuth experimentation is basically we made a login thing where you get redirected, you log in, you get directed back with a token. And this token allows you to do it's a proof of you logging in, and you can also use it for accessing resource servers. So in OAuth you have two kind of servers. You have the authentication server and you have the resource servers. And resource servers can be APIs, or they can protect content. And so one of our prototypes now have a resource server that holds a very basic profile. It's just a name and the OAuth OpenID Connect profile payload, in addition to an inventory that is kind of bundled in, because I just thought having an inventory persists, and you can like change computers and you don't lose it, and you can't just go into local storage and edit it and you get all the cool stuff. So I thought about doing this kind of inventory thing as well. So we have this OAuth server and resource server in one bundle. It's made in Django with I think it's called like Django OAuth toolkit, I think it's called. Just a very basic OAuth 2 and OpenID Connect implementation that allows us to, but the thing that is missing with this is that we need reticulum to log us in and then return a token that we can use, so that reticulum can still have the kind of control of what is happening with the connections, because that's not something you can just tap into unless you create a full wrapper around everything. So I want to kind of create a better implementation where reticulum still has the responsibility of logging people in, but can do it with OAuth. And there's a fork actually of reticulum that Dom made a while ago now, but it has the proof of concept there, and you can kind of imagine later what can happen when, or if we get an implementation like that. So I hope that answer your question a little bit at least. And then I think it's Wolfgang. You had your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to clap and I clicked the wrong icon.
Oh, okay. No problem. Will Murphy.
Hey, thanks. I wanted to chime in on the OAuth discussion. So at Immerspace, we've also done like an OAuth microservice that can connect to hubs. It lets you have like a persistent name, an avatar, an inventory of avatars. And something really unique we've done is what we call reciprocal authorization, which is that it's both an authorization provider and consumer, which means you can create an account on one site that's using it and then use that account to log into other sites that are using the same server as well. So you can have one name and avatar that comes with you everywhere you go. It's also partnered with a federated social networking standard called ActivityPub, and that gives you features like sending friend requests, posting your current location to your friends so they can find you by following the link, and chatting across hubs. So that is free open source software. Let me put some links in the chat here.
Yeah, definitely. That would be very interesting to check out.
There's the server, and you can see one of our projects that has it live in our chess game on Hubs. So, yeah, maybe it's time for us to do another Hubs meetup and go into more of the technical details of adding these to different Hubs clubs.
Yay!
Yeah. And,
Yeah, thanks so much, Edward.
Yeah, I'll just say again, thank you everyone for showing up and taking your time to listen to me and to check out the platform. And yeah, thanks.